Welcome back. And today we do not have another Schecter, which is a rarity on this channel. And actually something even more rare, we're going to be talking about acoustic guitars. Do not get to do these very often. I only own a handful of acoustic guitars. But your first starter acoustic, lots of cool options out there. We'll just talk about a handful of them. I've owned a few, not nearly as many as electrics, or as many as some people probably have. But we'll start first with a brand that I don't know much about. Not that you can really see down the sound hole there, but this is called Teton, or Teton. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. But Teton, I looked up these guitars. They are made in China, and they go, looks like about $300-400. So I did see somebody with, I believe, this exact model on Reverb for like $800. So somebody out there smoking crack. But very pretty guitar. Pretty good price for first acoustic guitar, beginner acoustic. And I will say, at least in my experience, and your mileage may vary, acoustic guitars in that $100 range are usually far, far worse than electric guitars in the $100 range. Unplayably bad is my experience. I've seen a few that just, they make you shake your head. This does have a pickup, so we got electronics control on there. I'm not actually sure where the pickup is mounted on this one, which is kind of weird that I can't find it. It looks like it's probably under, between the bridge and the sound hole, right in the middle, something like that. But honestly, I thought of all the ones we're talking about today, this one kind of, at first glance, struck me as it would probably be the worst, but it actually plays really well. I was pretty impressed by it. So, looks good. It's a little large for my personal taste, but I don't like big acoustics. Not super thick. It does have an arm bevel, which I love. I think that's really cool. But yeah, it's... It sounds great. It's a little bassy, in my opinion. That could be the string gauge. These strings are thicker than what I typically use. I think these are 12 to 54s, but I have to measure it. That's just what they feel like to me. Kind of high tension, hard to get good bends. Really hard to get good bends because there's a lot of tension on them. They may even be 13s. These are thick boys on here. But it sounds good. Just a little bit on the bassy side to me. The action and the playability across it is actually really solid. Neck feels great. Yeah, not a bad guitar. For $300-400. Yeah, there's probably better out there, but this thing is actually kind of nice. Yeah, not bad. Alrighty. On to our next one. We have a Laguna. These are pretty cool. Let's see the headstock there. A little bit heavier than our other guitar. This also has electronics in it. It's got a pickup mounted in there. Also says handcrafted in China. And I don't know the models on either the Laguna or the Teton. I haven't looked up. I haven't done any research on them. But this thing, looks wise, and it goes right in that same kind of $400 or $500 range, I think. Looks wise, honestly, maybe a little bit better. I think the wood grain on it is really nice. And we got a little bit of damage up at the top on the finish, but nothing much. And I like the rosette around the sound hole a little bit better on this one. It's just much more traditional. Still got a cutout, still really nice. Sounds great. It's a little bit quieter than the Teton, so not quite as booming and, you know, out there. Plays really nice. The neck is a high gloss neck, so a little bit different than the Teton, which is kind of a medium gloss. And so some people don't like the high gloss. I think it's fine. Plays really well. Access to the top is fantastic with the cutout. Sounds good. It's less bassy, but it also just doesn't project quite as much for whatever reason. So it is a little bit quieter of an instrument. Still plays really well. I like it, especially in that like $400 range. And I think you can get this model without the electronics for a little bit cheaper, which for your first acoustic guitar, I would recommend staying away from electronics. Along those lines, we have another guitar with electronics. There's our pickup and whatnot. I thought this one, I actually had like Fishman pickups in it. I can't remember. But this is a Baby Taylor, and this is one of your classic small form acoustic guitars. And this is in the Koa, which is gorgeous, gorgeous. You can find these on the used market right around that $500 price point. Occasionally, Taylor runs some deals where they knock these down, or I believe they've done in the past, like buy a full size, like, you know, CE edition Taylor, and they'll toss one of these in for free or for like $100 or something. These are killer. I've always loved Baby Taylors. My only real complaint on a Baby Taylor is the back bow's out, and I just kind of prefer it to be flat. That's personal preference. Doesn't have really anything to do with the guitar. But if you're looking for smaller hands, smaller body, I love these things. It's a really mellow sound, and this has elixirs on it, so coated strings give you a little bit different feel than these uncoated strings that we've been using, but really, really mellow sound. Beautiful, perfect Taylor fretwork that you would expect on, you know, $4,000 Taylor or something. This one needs a setup as well, and these strings are pretty old, so it's not playing as good as it possibly could. Another minor complaint that I have, which is just an oddity of these guitars, and it'll probably even be hard to see, but they actually screw the neck onto the body of the guitar through the fingerboard. And in my opinion, you shouldn't do that. It's just odd. So at the 16th fret, they're just going straight through it with screws. And that, to me, honestly, if it were like, if I was in the market for, you know, a new beginner acoustic, that alone, I'd probably not buy this guitar because of that, because it would just drive me insane. It doesn't really affect the playability, though it will a little bit on the strings where the screw's underneath. But it looks bad, and it just smacks of, I don't know, poor design, I guess. But these things sound great. I love small form acoustic guitars. They sound awesome. They look cool. They're super easy to play. And really, if you give it some pressure, you get plenty of projection, plenty of volume out of it. No real issue there. And the last one that I have to actually show you here is my personal favorite, and the only one of these that I actually own. Very similar to the Baby Taylor. It is Martin's version. They call it the Little Martin. And if you get the Little Martin with the E on the designation, so this is LX1, the LX1E has electronics. This does not. And we haven't plugged any of these guitars in anyways. But this has been one of my all-time favorite guitars since I got it in high school quite some time ago. And I have actually logged so many hours on this that I've had to have the first 12 frets re-fretted. Not just re-crowned, but pulled and re-fretted because I wore them down so much. Had to get a new nut cut for it as well because, again, I logged so many hours on this guitar growing up and even now that it was in rough shape. Very cool thing on these, you have open back tuning machines. That's just really cool. They look like, it's pure aesthetics. They look awesome though. I've always been a huge fan of that. And this like 1,000-piece neck is really cool. Or maybe just a ton of grain on it. But it just looks great to me. I really like it. Same configuration as everything except the koa. We've got that spruce top on there. Looks really good, very standard. A little bit of wear and tear on it, but honestly, for the thousands of hours that I put on this guitar, and just, you know, it's now, if it has a date on it, I don't think it does. But I've had this since, I think, like 2005. So almost 20 years now. It's got one tiny little gash right here that you can't even see from a pick, and that's it. Other than the frets, which just wear down over time. So we'll switch it up from the fingerstyle. But this guitar has been one of my go-to, you know, rock solid everyday players for quite some time. And I love it. Very nice sound, perfect tone in my opinion. It's very easy player, very fast. Does not have fretboard dots, which can throw you off a little bit. Obviously it's got them on the top, but doesn't have the fretboard dots, which can be a little confusing or take some time to get used to. And then the big thing, what I kind of vote for besides the screws, over the Baby Taylor on this is the back. It tapers down really, really tight at the top and does not bulge out. It's just flat. I've always liked that, and it's just like, it's a gorgeous back. I love it. This thing is beautiful and really doesn't show fingerprints too bad. So that's, you know, a little bonus. So this is my go-to guitar when I'm trying to learn stuff, just learning riffs, and I'm sitting at my computer and I don't have a whole lot of room and I don't want to bring, you know, full-size electric that I'm not going to plug in anyways, or full-size acoustic that is just going to get in the way and not let me, you know, easily access the keyboard and the mouse and all that. This is always 100% of the time, this is the little guy that I grab. It's perfect. You sit down, you know, you look at that riff, you go, all right, what is that riff? And you can easily just have it on your lap, set it down. I like the small size. Beyond that, and these are the only four I've got in the studio right now, but I have to give a shout out to another one that I actually own. It's just not in my house right now, which is, and I'll see if I can find a picture of the exact model. It's like the cheapest Yamaha acoustic ever made. I got it at a pawn shop for 88 bucks in probably like 2007. And that guitar is actually held up and stood the test of time, and it's very, very loud, which is pretty cool. So if you're doing the singer-songwriter type stuff, that's fantastic. And then I'll try to put a picture of this one up as well, if I can find the exact model. I played just a couple days ago a Loar guitar, L-O-A-R, that the guy I was talking to, he had gotten it for $250 and it was really nice. I'm pretty sure it was another Chinese brand, but it played really well. Super low action. You could fly on that thing. The action on that was actually probably a little too low. It buzzed a little bit on me. But very cool guitars. Really nice. But this one's my favorite. I love it. So if you've got a recommendation for your starter acoustic, your first acoustic guitar, drop it in the comments below and let me know, because I'm always curious about that. As somebody who teaches guitar lessons, everybody's always asking, oh, what do you get as the first guitar? If you're starting on acoustic, which I don't recommend if you're very young, I like these on Baby Taylor. They're fantastic. Now, if you're an adult, you're full size, you're grown, whatever, start on whatever you like, doesn't really matter. But for playability, on an acoustic, small size is where it's at. And if you are really, really young, like you got somebody like me that started when I was 7, start on electric. It's so much easier. The strings are closer to the fretboard. The strings are smaller gauge. They're easier to push down. Just overall, 10 out of 10, much, much easier to start on an electric guitar. And that's all we got for today. See you in the next one.